Hi, I'm back. The computer, as yesterday, probably turned off from Wi-Fi hacking, virtual drive access from the EMF of this probably very much hacked PC or Apple. Not that it matters, but turned on the lighting again. This got cut at least one chunk yesterday. It looked like it started at a different point, like the first part got edited out. I don't know how all that is happening, but I'm able to see those that are at least seeing the live broadcasts that there's interactivity. Even that could probably be manipulated. But I was playing the Anderson Cooper clip and forgot about a thing that I wanted to show you. If my memory could have been, they could pull thoughts as they're happening. But the Anderson Cooper clip and my counter surveillance will give you an idea of what I mean by every 15 to 20 seconds neurolinguistic programming. So the real people in other locations, like Kevin Christian describes their own little Howard circle, and trying to actually extract sympathy for me on behalf of the public and give it to the EMF gang stalkers, like blanketing Hillsborough probably for the last 6 months or whatever. I've been here like every fucking day. They've been in and out of my house and shit. But they want that sympathy for them. As I am the Anderson Cooper character, but it's synthetic telepathy and real people doing it. But they want, in a psychological operation manual written by a narcissist, they want to be able to prance around everywhere I go, just rubbing in my face that they're the victims, not the TI. I go, pay guys $35 an hour to show up pretending to be homeless guys, like, oh, and they're trying to design my death. But anyways, Anderson Cooper, let's get back to it. Okay, so when I say I get neurolinguistic programming from EMF perps every 15 to 20 seconds, this is an idea of what it's like being in my mind. Here comes the clip. It was such an issue they turned off my PC. Hi, Etsy. Or I gotta pronounce. I said Etsy. Pronounce her name. Skill with that is not great. Okay, so here's the Anderson Cooper simulator, and these are real people in other locations. Just all, and even writing programs to be AI to do this. Like, so they're not even having to interact with my torture. They can be like, I'll go rape a 10-year-old or something is what they would be doing. The purpose on me is some of the accusations of those that are actually attacking me is that he's got a 10-year-old sex slave. The guy that's like an EMF broadcast, not unlike what's going on with Kevin Christian, like who is trying to set up residence in the physical 3D reality, but like in the sub-reality of the EMF around my chest of drawers here in an outpatient mental health facility in Oregon.
I'm going to put these earphones in and I'm going to try to do a series of tests. Okay, so I'm now hearing sort of whispers and voices in my head, and the first test is some number puzzles.
Listen, you suck and they know it. Can't you get this right?
Okay, so I did this test for 3 minutes and I did not get a single one. It's very hard to concentrate when, if it's like music or something constant, it's easy, but people talking to you is very difficult. So now I'm going to be asked a series of questions by our producer, Susan. And these are basically a series of questions that a person would be asked if they were being admitted to a hospital.
Can you tell me what day it is?
Yeah, it's Sunday, June, I don't know, what's the date, 7th?
So I'm going to say 5 numbers, and I want you to repeat them back to me after I'm done.
Okay.
5, 23, 67, 2, 76.
5, 23, 67,
You're not
something 76.
enough
I'm gonna say 5 words. You don't have to repeat them, but just listen to them.
You'll be near.
Cat,
Near
book,
to me.
cigar,
I'll make it
damage,
okay.
and rain.
Make you okay.
Can you name the last 4 presidents of the United States?
Okay for you to be
Barack
here.
Obama,
Be safe.
George
Near
Bush,
here.
Be safe.
Here. Right here.
Bill
Be
Clinton.
safe as they're torturing you and making you unsafe.
George
NLP Satanism.
Here.
So those 5 words I said before,
Be safe,
can you remember them?
Here. Here.
No,
Goody good.
it's hard because sometimes voices are like whispering, and sometimes they're aggressive, and sometimes they're kind of comforting. And
Hear the tree.
again, with people kind of talking to you all the time, it's
okay.
hard.
Don't worry. An hour later.
So I'm
don't
gonna try to
worry.
make a boat of
All right.
origami following these instructions.
Hey, it'll be okay. Near. Get near.
Shut up.
I want to talk back to the voices now, but it's really distracting. It's,
Do not do it. Do not touch that
Real
stuff.
people in other locations doing this to our artificially.
You suck. What are you looking at? This is easy. You want to touch that?
I can't do this.
Hand down. Keep your eyes down. Just do it. Just do it. Filthy mind. Leave it alone.
It's also frustrating because they're telling me I can't do it, and so I didn't do a very good job with the boat. But it's really hard to focus when kind of people are whispering to you. And,
I almost
and
made you
talking
$6
to
billion bucks at the same time. So Yuvo is still going to raise $1 billion on their own. So
Come near to me. Come near for help.
Hey, do you have yesterday's paper? Yesterday's New York Times? No? Okay. I'll skip today's. It's incredibly distracting on the street to have somebody talking in your head, and it makes you feel completely isolated from everyone else around you, and you don't want to engage in conversation with other people. You kind of find yourself wanting to engage in conversation with the voice in your head because they're constantly being really negative and talking to you, and everything they're saying relates to things that you're actually doing. They're criticizing things you're doing. It's like it's like you have a chorus watching you and commenting on what you're doing. And you can't help it. I literally find myself wanting to kind of respond to them, kind of tell them to be quiet, and it's incredibly unpleasant.
Possessive?
It's a very, very unpleasant experiment. It's really, it's eye-opening because it kind of really shows you what other people must be going through who deal with this on a regular basis. But also, like, I cannot wait to take these headphones off because it's really depressing.
get my headsets. Get my headsets.
It's very negative. It makes you feel very, very negative.
My headsets.
Yeah, it's very creepy. I want it to stop.
Eyes down. You back up. Stand up now. I'll count you off. I'll count 20, 30, 40. Stand up now. Walk away.
You're okay.
Walk now.
Pacify. Pacify. On to pacify. All the way to make it home.
So, as people are paid to come and say few words to me that they don't even understand, that's like simultaneously going on in my mind. And then, if they want to be real dicks, they can incorporate rape code rectal torture. And then, so I'm Anderson Cooper walking through Portland or whatever, or Tualatin, and that's, and then like I'm getting rectal tortured like Kevin Christian's getting done. And then they'll send an EMF perp to come up and be, oh, silence. As I'm being tortured. And this guy who took a fucking text message likely has no idea that I'm getting rectal tortured. And then so it's just like, okay, predictions. Cameos for dollars. Human camel, explosive growth. So I'm putting now back up on Twitter and Facebook this second part of my live stream. So those that may have gotten cut off can connect. Or my counter surveillance effort. And the Anderson Cooper clip was too alarming because of for the false positive psychological operations manual written by a narcissist. Like, they can't have the actual TI being tortured have any public sympathy as a matter of like protocol or objective on Street-S stuff. And these people taking these cell phone calls to come up and do street theater with me have no idea that simultaneously, like, I'm the Anderson Cooper character in that schizophrenia simulator, but it's synthetic telepathy. And it's been going on for 15 years now. Let's see, I didn't really get that as great as I wanted to. So here we are, 15 minutes back into starting this thing up again. I got a Facebook link. And it's getting pretty hot here. It's noon, 12:07 Pacific Standard Time in the US. And I am working on my counter surveillance. It looks like by appearance there's extra, like, even like field demarcation, like somebody is there's a glitch in maybe some of the screen capture software that may or may not be installed by somebody else. So yeah, the state of mind put forth in the schizophrenia simulator, I just played, I can play it again. And then I forgot the next clip that I wanted to, or the next thing I wanted to show you guys, that when they turned off the first feed for the day. But when I say I get neurolinguistic programming every 15 seconds, 6 to 8 words, my state of mind artificially, because of satanic synthetic telepathy, I don't have my own settings and whatnot like Kevin talks about, has been the Anderson Cooper clip every day for 15 years. And then street theater incorporating torture, fake people, EMF, real in other locations, deep captured facilities before I get there, community slander, poisonings, home invasions like I've described, the Project Camelot website video journalist on conspiracy theories, aliens, all that kind of stuff. Carrie Cassidy has, for her unconstitutional TI torture, she told the story of an EMF perp faking a gray alien showing up into her apartment. I had a two-dimensional woman from India. There's been a lot of visual communication with some of the EMF beings that may or may not have been real avatar consciousnesses. And this was done to me. John Lear's daughter knew soon after college, when I was in the phase of being so coerced to think it was only mental illness. I didn't believe her at the time. She was right. I didn't believe her about the Moon Life Review Life movie. She was right, or she is right. And I didn't know how much I wanted to get out of the solar system until maybe, having gone through synthetic telepathy torture hell. And then her dad and his research on the moon and everything, like, no, I'm going out. No, I'm not staying here. He's right. No. Okay. Okay, so here I am. And back, it's part 2 of my live counter surveillance effort. And I'm tortured every day. People that are involved in all of this terror and torture to me, like in my domicile, Secret Service sanctioned, the whole shebang, that makes me feel good. And I hope it's satisfying for the shopkeepers too. within the structure of their management, things like that. But one of the last times I showed up to a place of business in this fine town of Hillsborough, by the time I got into the facility and the perp was walking out and had already done their spiel that I didn't even hear by design to the person behind the counter, they were like, they work for Satan. Instead of how they tried to engineer this, and I shit you not, the nut house guy is Satan. And then the guy that can show up as anybody he wants on his headgear, showing up and harassing the shopkeep, that's the Jesus. The one practicing the Satanism against me, the TI. This gang more or less tried to do that. And the guy that just sent me the on a broadcast, or not a broadcast, but on that who showed up in the YouTube chat to talk to me. Thankfully, I was so happy about that. He gave me Brian Joseph John's blog, Caucasian Buddhist from Canada, who is aware of these synthetic telepathy cults and their intent to do these things. They tried to frame me as an extreme, disgusting, like child perversions, like a child sex pervert that would be deserving of existing targeted individual torture that started in 2004. That had nothing. I'm not a child sex pervert. It's just not. And then in the synthetic telepathy gang stalker cults, they're actually child sex perverts. And as the TI, like, I don't have a, the FBI is not really on my side on this shit. Like, that's their boys, like the old boys that think they can fuck 10-year-olds under mind control. America. So I'm simultaneously like falsely accused by this gang of something I don't do. They do it and get away with it. It's like, simultaneously living that consciousness of Anderson Cooper put in the simulation of schizophrenia. And their shit views. You can see through my therapy, this is how I sort of process my aggressions and time against those torturing me by ridiculing the shit out of them. I smoke weed every day. Yeah. I really love a Southern accent. I have an affinity for it. It's really charming. I like people from the South. I hear places like Charleston are beautiful. Up here in Oregon.
The world was on fire, no one could save me but you. Strange what desire make foolish people do. I never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you. I never dreamed that I knew somebody wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love with you.
No love, hold it. America. Deny life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Hit the push button. Let's torture him. Guard Fusion Center, community-based agents, Command Central.
What a wicked game to play to make me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do to let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. Never felt this way. What a wicked thing to do to make me dream of you. And I wanna fall in love. No, I wanna fall in love with you.
Oh yeah, there we go with the hair there. Hand's starting to hurt. It's being remote tortured finger, particular joint. Yeah, it's like I smacked it on something, slapped a wall or something. Diplomats visiting Cuba. That broached the news. Remote torture capabilities against diplomats visiting Cuba. I was a University of Oregon Master's of Public Administration graduate student, recently off the State Board of Higher Education, write-in student body president of my university at Portland State. Won my election, even while propagating biological terrorism and covert torture, then from a concocted mononucleosis infection during my campaign. Still won the election. The Cuban diplomats from America and the weaponry, remote torture weaponry used on them that broached the news is not dissimilar to me as a University of Oregon double dug at 2 degrees from the University of Oregon, having been covertly driven crazy for 15 years. And the headline circulating in social media and some of the Asian media outlets is Americans torturing Americans. They're putting us as a country, as a polis, as a unit in danger, more so from foreign foes because of these concocted synthetic telepathy torture wars. Oh, stomach getting in pretty hard. It's starting to warm up out here about 12:30 p.m. Neurolinguistic programming is not going to be free speech. It's like yelling fire in a movie theater for the lawmaker circles for the wonk class. Not that we have any constitutional rights or Bill of Rights protections as targeted individuals. No. Particularly forced receiving and synthetic telepathy, like concocting, otherwise it wouldn't have been there, Anderson Cooper state of mind for 1.5 million Americans every day simultaneously at a Blackwater estimate. War crimes. And I am often extremely polite, even still, walking around in my meat suit and during the broadcast that's been on for 15 years. These little dells are all grown up. And they don't know shit. But they play dumb and really do know a lot of things like expert stuff, like even manipulating people's bodies with this equipment, building EMF, fucking cars. Computer science is a silo of information. Like, I've studied computer science my whole life. Yeah. Bring it on. Shoot fish and barrel. I'm getting my ass kicked every day, covertly. Well, maybe not. Here's my counter surveillance, so you know what's really going on back here at the old nut house. Not exactly The Last Samurai, and a Caucasian adaptation of A Tale from the East, where I think it was Tom Cruise played a lead role, where a mother otherwise may have been played by a man from the continent of Asia in ethnic origin. That's what this reminds me of. Wow. Thank you, whoever sent me that blog recently again, because that's what this synthetic telepathy cult is doing to me. And like, as I'm reading your blog or the blog that you recommended, I'm being made tired artificially by remote torture to, make it more difficult to read and digest the information that's happening to me or has been happening to me for 15 years. I'm a POW for no good reason. They just make up reasons to torture people. Andre Agassi and the Last Samurai meet in an uneven match of wits. I had like ping pong all day, just boom, boom. NLP, just boom, boom. The Anderson Cooper clip, schizophrenia simulator. Every 10 to 15 seconds for 15 years. Bernie Madoff will be punished less. Or is being punished. It's cruel and unusual punishment. Defined. Absolutely. In their Pucan priorities. Gosh, if it got too sunny before the invention of sunglasses, maybe a decent way to sort of shield your eyes. I've seen there was indigenous cultures to like northern or southern hemisphere extreme cold locations. And prior to the invention of sunglasses, fur from hunting for food was used, like thin groups of animal hair across your eyes as you're walking across like the fully sunlit snowscape tundra, reflecting more light back up off the ground. Some of the stuff that I've seen in some of the anthropological study of the human condition and what we've done to adapt. This would work too. I was recently picking up not only UVA but UVB eyewear protection and have some sunglasses now that are pretty neat. And John Lear's dad literally invented the 8-track, the car stereo, and the Learjet man who helped out Area 51 and knows enough about hard to know stuff to get the hell out of the solar system also. That's pretty cool. The child genius, it's a baby genius all grown up. Unintended consequences sometimes with things that invent, or people that invent things that get exploited by the ill that was already here by Wes Penry's analysis, invaded 50,000 years ago. Sunk in like a tick. Alien invader force. We just need some murder blue. I think privately, maybe not so privately, Justin Bieber fucking hates his life. Those are times. And he's gang stalked. Like any conception he thinks he has of God is coerced con. It's these perps and shit. Justin Bieber. And somebody really wanted to possess Britney Spears, and there may be an untold number of people passed out in their own little swath of Howard Circle, tuning into her life experience, living her life like outside of her eyeballs. She's mishandled like we all are by these psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists, the beast system. Somebody stole Britney Spears and never gave her back to herself. Amanda Bynes was gang stalked. Somebody stole her. When that Coney viral video hit, and some guy was drawing attention to like child soldiers in the continent of Africa and the Congo and warlords, when it like his hit counts went up on his a video that he made for his nonprofit, and it went viral. Somebody found him in his geography, started remote neural monitoring and brain computer interface from satellite control on that guy. And as the story's breaking to taint what he was trying to do with the child soldiers in Africa, like psychological operations type of personnel were like, for ill reasons, but maybe even like out of protocol, I was just doing my job. Drove that guy crazy as that video, that Coney video, went viral. And then the next thing you know, he's doing naked jumping jacks on the corner of the street. There's a photo of like Amanda Bynes walking out in public, and she's handing somebody like a $20,000 diamond necklace. That's a perp. Likely. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, man. How did that ever happen? Not cool. I remember also in some of the coverage and having some empathy for it, and even some of the EMT staff that were like, when I was in Southern California, that were like vaguely aware of me, were like, they were commending me as like, oh, and he had sympathy for talking at and around me, not to me though. You know, he had sympathy for men. But so I was telling the story. I was like in the same psych ward she was at, and they were like talking about that as I'm getting pulled there. Like I'm going there like voluntarily. Like, oh shit, this is hardcore. Need some food, shelter, safety, and basic needs here. I'm all homeless in Southern California. How did I end up here? So I'm staying in the same facility, and and I can recognize some of these things now in retrospect. There was a difficult scene where somebody had recalled seeing her at a restaurant, and she was enjoying maybe a meal, or anyways, she was talking to herself by appearance to somebody who saw her, and she was being perped, driven crazy from remote torture, and addressing the criminals that had her remote monitoring. laying in their own poopies, their own hair circle, just have some snickerdoodle, hun. Just for shits and giggles, ruining her fucking life for a public spectacle. $1.5 million Americans like that. Like myself. Somebody stole Britney Spears and never gave her back to herself. Oops, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, she may need her headgear too. And their shit views. It's the Free Timmy Britney Coalition on Ad Hoc Committee to Defeat Mind Control Satanism, and we have openbci.com now. Spreading the info. It's part of my information stream. Oops. Oh, time to take some medications. Ow! The toesies! It's actually not that bad. Stubbed it. See, I'm having fun with the jokey voice. That I used to do that stuff when I was a kid, like not synthetically telepathic. I used to do improv when I was a child. I did it periodically. It's called being Irish. My brother saw his first word was like a swear word or something. Or maybe that was mine. No, mine was shoe-non, mommy, shoe-non. I wanted my shoes on so I go outside in the European compound for Northrop in Saudi Arabia. So my mom, I think, put on my shoes for me. You know, I announced my vocal skills to the world. I want to put on my shoes, Mom. Started walking in 6 months. That shit like doesn't happen. I was way early to be like, DIY kid, just start walking, whatever. Okay, here we are, in an hour into the second part after the computer was turned off, probably by virtual drive access, using probably from the EMF tunnel Wi-Fi. Remote torture incorporated into the frame of mind mimicked by the Anderson Cooper journalism piece on a schizophrenia simulator. Wow, right there, a little bit. That's my state of mind, more or less, every day. My teeth right there. My teeth. Kevin's lost a tooth. It was hard, so hard for me to believe. I was wondering if it was like faked video. My aunt has talked about some of the weaponry used on her teeth remotely. Somebody that was attacking her teeth did street theater outside the apartment in a joust and Freudian moment, maybe filled with his reward from the cell phone tower telling his body to feel good, or whatever, that particular mechanism it is for that feature of gang stalking. He's like, this is gaming. And talking at and around him, torturing her as her teeth are like feeling remote torture. My aunt Nellie, some perp standing outside of her apartment doing street theater and neurolinguistic programming and enjoying the hell out of torturing my family. This is gaming. Saw a little blip in the radar on the blue side of the other coast as I'm maintaining the western front. Something happened in the city of New York where they lost power last Saturday night, 11, maybe o'clock Eastern time. There was a concert, maybe Jennifer Lopez. Got it canceled. You need domestic terrorism stuff like, or massive power transistors going out. And then if it's a non-state actor, if you get your comeuppance and your fruit for all this Americans torturing Americans, then with international foe pounce on the increased vulnerability of us because we're fighting among ourselves as a polis, because people won't stop taking those fucking text messages thinking they're God. Anyways, like stuff like all of the power going out in New York and then having to forcibly reported in the mainstream press and domestic terrorism from non-state actors that maybe not a lot of the people in the public. I mean, that's in play with this shit. I mean, they can weaponize fucking people's plumbing in their apartment to torture them. They've done that to my aunt. A huge blue transistor explosion in the city of New York. Is that terrorism? Who's doing it? The hacker phenomenon, all this shit, and like the EMF gang stalking, and this motherfucker who's like, bragging about he spent all of his life studying computer science and shit like that, attacking city municipalities for extortion schemes. It's actually a mismatch problem in some instances. The municipalities aren't prepared. like right here. The Parks and Rec crew can't handle it when people start getting biohacked from their desks. You know. Right here. So shooting pain through here. Maybe, so this has been my, maybe I'll get some kind of best practices for doing this. This has been my way of recording it. It's 101. Kevin keeps a record of the time that he gets hit, 101 p.m. Sunday Pacific time. It's like a needle point. Like, my back there. My neck. And it's being done to us. Myself and too many Americans, particularly women. See, there's the it may be difficult in this like real time to do it, but I just posted a photo of Andre Agassi, and then there's a movie poster of Tom Cruise as the Last Samurai. This is so much fun for me. It's been a lot of investment in time and a lack of a haircut budget, but I like the return. Oh, that I posted those videos. If depending on where you picked this up from, like I had it on my Facebook, my Twitter. I think I did it live. And then if you picked it up as like one of my subscribers on YouTube, and are a TI, not a perp, because they're probably watching too. And then so if they're EMF aware, they're seeing there may be like all kinds of EMF sub reality stuff going on with the extreme pain I'm feeling like right here, right now from remote torture. It's like there could be like, there's your whatever the currency is in the torture market for synthetic telepathy torture. There's your shot of opioid feeling from us manipulating your body with the BCI reward for torturing this TI. Like as I'm getting this, like they're like getting jolted in their bodies where they're letting like pleasure. And then waking up and raping like a 10-year-old or something has been some of the allegations of the front end for this group of gang stalkers. And I don't know how to verify that or not. It could be just for shock value. They did try to convince me. Some friends of mine in high school were killed and like really coercively, like with street theater that were faking the form of my parents along with it to reinforce the lie. And you know, my friends from high school, they're talking in particular, are doing fine. They're not dead. So this all could be bullshit just for terror and torture illusion, you know, question, you know, feeling reaction of the input into my mind with neurolinguistic programming and not actual in reality. Like one of their torture packages, they're trying to convince me that a friend from high school, they simulated her husband having bestial intercourse with the family dog that they staged that she would walk in on to destroy her marriage and all this other stuff. And that probably didn't happen either. But at the same time, they could do that or would, maybe. These perps, the perpicopolis, the perpies. Let's torture him. And at the same time, they like tried to steal my identity in pretty elaborate ways and be like, I am the TI, and the TI is the bad guy. And it seems like simple in describing that, but imagine throwing $10 million at it too. Oh yeah, that's probably very attractive. So that you get on the home edition. On the oh yeah, really putting on the Ritz here. I'm getting tortured in an outpatient medical facility in Oregon because of the synthetic telepathy wars of Americans torturing Americans. getting hit right here, like in my nose. I guess I'm being kind of quiet during my counter surveillance / talk / music therapy. Oh gosh, gardening therapy today. I can go check on what's growing in the backyard. 1:10 a.m. or p.m. Could be like 82 today. In psych wards, we sometimes have classes. You get encouraged to go to the classes. Like, if you want to get out of the psych ward, you go to classes as well. I remember a couple of times going into like a gardening therapy class inside a lockdown facility at a psych ward. Times when I was an unaware TI and thought it was only mental illness, and getting a nice little plant to take back to my room with me, and sitting down with often very compassionate, warm female medical professionals helping us. And here at the outpatient facility, Juniper House, I have been doing some gardening too, and it's nice. It's nice. I may go outside and check that out. I saw some pictures of my brother's daughters today. My mom sent me an email, and I could see the family resemblance. Some of my torture package for me is that there was some difficulty in my brother's first birth with triplets. It was complicated, and some of the neurolinguistic programming, whether or not it happened, to torture me with the illusion of the truth that it did, that there was some kind of neurolinguistic programming, satanic suggest that perps attacked my brother's family in utero, and then reinforced it with like EMF perps. I think impersonating my parents' First Street Theater to really make me believe that one of my brother's children was made disabled and 2 of them killed in birth because they were attacking that part of my Christian genome. Now, I can't prove it happened or didn't, but they were like impressing upon me in psychological operations that it did. They also tried to convince me that, again, like some friends of mine from high school were killed, and they're not. My parents were in hell with, replaced by reptilian aliens. They're not. But the point of and then reading your mind at the same time to see how much the TI suffers, likely if it's, in these repeated patterns, all of that being a lie, it's still the processing power of having to consider it, like pressed into your brain with NLP, still hurts anyways. So they're like, victory, like, and then better yet, if you start running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to solve problems that don't exist, and then they'll just make more for you along the way. Just leave them little breadcrumbs, or follow me to the oven. Hansel and Gretel reference there, or whatever. It's getting hot. I'm gonna maybe take off. If you're still watching or whatnot, I'll leave on some classical music while I'm checking out what's going on outside. Maybe it's something to eat. I gotta hit right here. So in some of these introductory efforts of trying to find a way to, this is like tunneled Wi-Fi, and then I have guys modifying the screen, and then from behind, it looked like the first part of like the video I uploaded yesterday, at least a segment of it was cut out. Like you start the video and I'm walking in the background, like you start the video like right here, so you would see my face. So it may have been edited. I am having fun interacting with those that catch the live part of it, but I may still have to work on my IT counter surveillance skills. And giving a documented presence of what's really going on here at the Net House. Ooh, it's hot. It's really warm right now. Okay. Okay. There we go. So this time, the North and the South are cooperating to end slavery. Kevin, Christian, and I, and other examples. And the geographic distribution of the North and the South. Yeah. There you go. I just put some up on Facebook, comment or something like that. Great. And I can do some amateur voice acting too. I had a little bit, inclination or a little bit of training as a kid. I'm no Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears, but I have not classically trained. No, I didn't end up at Juilliard's or something like that. I dabbled in the community theater down in our hometown. I was at it, eating my own little slice of Waiting for Government. Huh? That's such a funny movie. Ow. My leg's getting hit. There are no lunch breaks in your torture schedule. Love There was a guy that I hung out with that was friends with my older brothers, the youngest of 5, growing up in LO. His older sister was Kennedy from VJ or video jockey fame of early MTV. That was his sister. And then his brother was a parole officer. His dad, a successful lawyer, a friend of mine. And he used this term. I think his brother ended up becoming a parole officer. Yeah. But he used this term knuckle dragger. And I recently saw it like in maybe even the Hillsborough Press of somebody who works in law enforcement describing himself. He's like, I'm a self-admitted. He's like, I'm a knuckle dragger. And I don't totally know all of what that means, but Alan was trying to use it as an insult or something like that. Maybe try to like sort of take back the word there, sort of thing, like me describing myself as a fairly cool nerd. I don't know. Let me look at the knuckle dragger, see what that means. Like I think of somebody like for physical brute force, like, oh, like. Sorry. Reminiscent of the hunched-over caveman with his arms on the ground, an insult used against those of extremely low intelligence or general stupidity. Fairly cool nerd. Some of my, even as sort of an unaware TI, but prior to that, out and about in social engagements, back when I used to like go to bars occasionally in my 20s or whatnot, some of those times over the last 15 years, I was sitting there talking to an EMF perp, definitely didn't know it. But the polite conversation opportunities in America, to sit down with somebody you just met, talk about, current events, whatever comes to mind, their job, jokes, family, sports, stuff like that. In the times that I have found enjoyment as even an unaware TI simultaneously having the Anderson Cooper simulated schizophrenia experience. Like, that has been some of the like more valued and cherished and fun memory times I have had interacting with mainly my fellow Oregonians before like live cycle operations kicked out. And, like, these motherfuckers are on headsets and you know, where are they coming from? But the you know, conversations around town with your community members of what's going on with them, and you know what can, you know, like the natural flow of information in normal human conversation. That's great. That's something to I hope others and myself. I don't, you know, I'm trying to do some of that here, video blogging for you. It'd be nice if you could, you know, every once in a while I get somebody who will write in the comment section there, and that's really welcome. Please feel free to jump in anytime. But I can remember fond memories of stuff like that, having conversations particularly about what other people knew, what they did, or, you know, like a family friend talking about botany, or graduate or math university level grad student or undergrad or student sitting. I'm an undergrad at Portland State. I can't remember if I had I don't know if I was his student body president at that time, but eventually I was at some point. And we had a polite conversation over beers about a theoretical shape of the universe, mathematically expressed now visually. It's been done extremely visually. I have many years later, over 20 years later, come together, put on my website, and, you know, have developed my own political theory based on the hard science of it, on instead of like a spectrum of like the hard science mimicry of like political spectrum and then like the electromagnetic spectrum. I like all of that is politics, and like all of the variety of the thing we think of that in Earth, and then that theoretical shape of the universe with that shape that has a particular name that I don't know, but instant recall the name of, but that, and then, you know, getting the Oregonian, and then that week the MPA Ultra crossover, like concepts applied being in the writer's room of The Simpsons at the same time. They have an episode at the same time. That came from a conversation over beers with a mathematics university student at Portland State University who knew what the fuck he was talking about, and we were having a good time. Tell me what you know. Some of the best times of my life, shit like that. Great stuff there. Good conversations with other people about what they're doing with their lives.
Thank you.
Picture this, I'm a bag of dicks, put me to your lips. I am sick, I will punch a baby bear in his shit. Give me lip, whip. I'ma send you to the yard. Get a stick, make a switch. I can end the conversation real quick. I am crap, I ain't lying. Kick a lion in this crap. I'm the shit. I will fall off in your crib. Take a shit. Get your mama on the booty. Kick your dog. Fuck your bitch. That boy dressed up like you stand on into pictures with your kids. We the best. We will cut a frying face in your chest, little wench. I'ma mention up be fresh. I'm a bitch. You're correct. I will walk into a court while they wreck, screaming, yes, I am guilty, motherfuckers. I am death. Hey, you wanna hear a good joke? Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Get running, start pumping your bunions out coming. I'm the dumbest who flame through your fuck shit to funyuns. Flame your crew quicker than Trump fucks his youngest. The face of flame fuckers, your feed the fake going. Charlie Brown, Peppermint, Patty, Linus, and Lucy. Put dope in the doobie, roll movies, just roll with Snoopy. I still remain that dick rabbit slacker that's still a rookie. Cause the total of the tootie will murder you friggin' movies. Fuck out of here. Yeah. Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Hey. Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Hey. Nobody speak, nobody speak. Only facts, I'm a shooter. Baby duck if it claps with a Ruger. Top billing, come cops and villainous shots is box shipped out and bought and y'all feeling it. LB killing it, killing my killing shit. What more can I say? We top billing it, value without feeling it. Viciously found victory. Burning towns and villages, burning, looting and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us, we curse them and all the children. I just want the blood and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free, I am barely giving a fuck away. So tell Big and Johnny and Mommy to get the fuck away. Yo, here's a gun, son, now run, get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day. Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Nobody speak, nobody speak. Nobody speak, nobody get choked. Nobody speak, nobody get choked.
Okay, correlation causation. Because of the secret surveillance, synthetic telepathy, cults, meaning me hypersonically at speed of thought, when I, as an unaware TI, broached the letters to the editor section of the Oregonian, having forgot at that time that I helped invent the newspaper comment section for a long time, just memory wiped from that shit, but practicing my little craft in there, I'm like the Craigslist of the newspaper comment section. I'll stay at the help desk, like shoving along there. I get to the LTE section, which, you know, is a big deal, you know, like for me. Yay. And I introduce my political theory based on the hard science of the infinity symbol shape, three-dimensional of the concocted holographic cosmos. Boom. So I get it. It takes a while, like a week to get it approved once you submit it online. And then by the time it gets to the print, like that week's episode of The Simpsons is also dealing with the same theoretical shape of the universe. It's a donut. no. And so that was one of my experiences as an unaware TI, and the crossover from life as a TI imitating art and art imitating life. And fuck, they kept trying to set up Nielsen family stuff around me, and like my brother saw like overtly in addition to all this shit anyways. Like I would be called in some other modest, accurate definitions of it like an influencer. But at the same time, they write algorithms shit, so I'm censored and like confined. My audiences are like restricted in like avenues like social media and shit. But yeah, so concepts applied. Word got around that week. Some of the creative types making the Simpsons episode. And I think Al Gore's daughter worked for the Simpsons, like was on the writing staff of the Simpsons. Like, whoa, talk about a fun room to be in. I saw some of the creative processes of Seth MacFarlane and his staff, like behind the scenes in the writer's room when they're like crafting this, doing what did my creative writing, they're workshopping maybe is another way to term the script that they're doing. Like, that's some cool shit. Creative types like that all in the same room, just popping off, cracking jokes and shit. That's fun times. That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
I climb upon my faithful steed.
This next band asked me not to read this, but God damn it, I'm going to read it anyway because I wrote it and it's the truth. I fucking love this band. They are the best band ever, period. Ladies and gentlemen, Tenacious D!
Hey, what's up? Me and KG wrote the song 5 minutes ago. It's called Master Exploder.
I do not need a microphone. My voice is fucking sorry. I did not mean nothing. Blow your mind. But that shit happened to me.
To the edge of the lake, I follow the water. Emotions like addictions of life. He stops me when I'm starting to play. Shows intuition is all we can be so. My tradition is the art of superstition. listen to the heat of desire. He tells me not to preach to the choir. He says this condition is a slowly composition. He says my religion is the practice of sedition.
Alle warten auf das Licht. Fürchtet euch nicht. Die Sonne scheint mir aus den Augen. Sie wird heute Nacht nicht untergehen. Und die Welt zählt laut bis 10. Wir machen die Sonne.
Nice sunny day. Outside my second window right over here. Green trees of leaves that are normally not visible during the winter time. An evergreen right in the yard. It's a particular type that has almost like a blue, light blue, whitish hue rather than you would think of as like a green. Ow, my foot just got hit. It stays with us all winter, and that's one of the neater parts about Oregon is that all of the evergreen tree growth that never looks like it's dead during the winter. Ow, shoot, my ankle here getting hit. It's painful. Oh, there's a guy. He's doing a live one stream too. He's electronically being harassed also. Harassment is a legal term. It's an understatement of what's really going on here. Part of it's eugenics. There's Matty Johnson, a targeted individual in Australia. I have family in Australia. My brother and his young family, his wife. He married an Aussie girl. He seemed pretty happy. It's nice. He works very hard. Muscular brain, eyes, heart. Yeah, all the symptoms of RF, EMF, radio frequency radiation, symptoms of exposure. Yeah. He too knows what I'm talking about. This Matty Johnson, who's a targeted individual in Australia, he's got a much cooler and well grown out facial swag, manscaping beard going on. It's pretty sweet. Okay, so here's Kevin. He shared his link on Targeted Individual International, talking about their gang stalkers' efforts to keep us unemployed as TIs. My friend Crystal, also a TI. This is great. For as damaging as social media, my hand, has been for the plight of TI, it does serve as a means for us to still have to organize to address grievances. Somewhat. How? Okay, so. Sweet, yes, like so much feeling great. Just cut it down, y'all. Just drawing a path straight from here to here with the circle. You catching my drift there? You guys are breaking paths. Good job. Okay. Ow, get it out. Ooh, that's chip jack. Ow, that was a tip top chip jacker. My blood hurts actually. Ow. Yep, I'm getting hit from the many, the cowardly, and driving us insane. The few, the brave, the ways of yes. Extremely low frequencies and other means of torture. No torture. Checking out Facebook right now is what I'm doing. Maybe I'll try and get some screens where you're looking at, I could twitch it better or something like that, where you're looking at my screen and then what I'm looking at too. And maybe, yeah, I'll get a little more. So like you'll see me in this part of the screen, like in this video, and then you're looking at my desktop. That may be a little bit more up to par from what is available for video communication.
You take a look, take a look. Tell me what you see. Tim flipping off the enemies of Christianity.
Oh yeah, let's see.
Take a look. Tell me what you see. Pick up. Pick up. Pardon my coughing. Smoky.
So I'm writing a Facebook post talking about how the U of O logo, the U of O, in the intricacies of the graphics design of it, is actually the inner shape of the O is Hayward Field, and the outer shape of the O is the shape of the University of Oregon Autzen Stadium, football stadium, prior to it being expanded. And that's how they came up with the font for the University of Oregon logo, which I think is pretty cool. Ow. I'm getting hit again. Tap. This time in my genitals, which is an embarrassing way to be tortured, so it's difficult to even talk about it as these guys are remote torturing us. Perpetrators. Getting hit in the leg. Hey, I got a like from somebody. Black Rose, that's neat. Looks like they were checking out my surveillance talk stuff. Hey, Violet Beauty 11 on Twitter, going by Black Rose. Targeted individual. 10 years. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, dear. Thanks for you made it through to be able to post a like on my Twitter account. That's neat. I really appreciate that. So, old television. People that may be in their 40s. Do you remember Night Court? If you do, you may remember that the guy that played the character of the judge in Night Court the sitcom, I think in the late 80s, late 80s. A comedy sitcom. He was really into a particular type of jazz that was like off the cuff, came from, I guess, ad-libbing, if you forgot the words, called scat. And of the interesting hobbies or personal interests of a professional, somebody that was an interesting character to mention for the night court comic relief of the judge, that he was a scat man when he got home. That's pretty cool. Oh, here we go. So yeah, stepping up the interface where I have take this slow, adjusting, where I have, you'll see this part of the screen down here, and then my desktop. Maybe a better way to interface with my counter surveillance effort. And so, in a very real way, what we do and punch on these keys, I'm about to do something worldwide, like, anybody that uses the internet because of it, their hands make life. Fiber optics. I think Musk's company is doing like pretty elaborate satellite infrastructure. I don't know what the material was used for the 500 times faster internet that's coming to this town. Interesting stuff. I mean, that's 500 times faster. And of all the things in municipal things in big numbers and whatnot, of all the things to spend $27 million on, like that, nice project, like good job. They could have spent $27 million on a number or a large new park or something like that comparatively, and city council deliberative process, other budget priorities, renovating buildings, increase staff. Yeah, let me take a look at that, see how that's going. Maybe read that to you, my counter surveillance audience, what's going on with the project I'm talking about here in Hillsborough, where I happen to be living right now. Ooh, my ouch, I just got hit behind the back of my leg, the pin sensation, like getting stuck with a needle. Oh, yeah, here we go. Hillsboro, Oregon, or -oregon.gov. And then I'm into a .gov website. Looks like a nice press release style. Frequently asked questions of Hillsboro to offer Highlight affordable high-speed internet service. Your questions answered. The city of Hillsboro is committed to expanding its fiber network to provide Highlight affordable high-speed internet access for all Hillsboro residents and businesses. When, where, and how. In addition to the positive community response, people are asking how many questions about the details. We will update these questions and answers below as the fiber network expansion progresses. So it's going to be fiber, so 500 times faster light keys. Sign up for email updates on the fiber network expansion project and the availability of our Highlight internet service. Okay, well, that's pretty interesting. And then it's got basics. What is the name of the service? Why is the city going to offer high-speed internet service? When and where will it start? Let's check that one out. The city will launch Highlight winter 2019 2020. South Hillsboro will be the first neighborhood connected because roads and homes are being built right now. South Hillsboro, so I'm pretty close, or like in there. Okay, so it's happening like I said or saw, and let me give you the metrics of the speed and the basics of the frequently asked question page off the city council website here. Okay, the cost of it, I get 27 million is what I thought. 4 million for 7 years. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. So it'll be like, okay, so that it was about $1 million less. They came under budget maybe in some of the estimations currently. Excuse me. $50 a month. Low income customers will pay $10. Businesses $70 a month. Let's see. Where's the metrics on? And so this is being done in other means, but involving computers and satellites, the internet, and stuff that Kevin Christian describes better in detail than I. And it's being used to torture me remotely with sensations of pins or needles hitting my skin now because I'm a target individual. My aunt's being tortured in Southern California, and 1.5 million of us, about 5 million doing it to us, and then the 340 million other Americans who aren't targeted individuals or perpetrators. Where's the how fast it would be? What does this mean for public life? Like right here. Feeling a little lightheaded. So people presumably, again, like I said before, that are watching my broadcast and aware of the broadcast can see the additional sub-reality of the EMF as I'm sitting here being tortured. Whole thing. Let's see what highlight. What's the specs on it? I'm pretty sure when I read about it, it was 500 times faster than like the internet we have. Hmm. Gigabyte speeds. Oh, okay. Yeah, instead of megabyte speeds. Yeah, so up a magnitude or whatever. So if I get 2 megabytes now, it'll be a gigabyte is like, but anyways. And then these guys in the electromagnetic frequency, I'm not kidding, while they're having tortured with pins and needles hitting my skin, will sit on virtual drive access off like tunneled Wi-Fi here in the electromagnetic frequency, get into my computers or cell phone or whatnot, and slow the connection down. They do that for a lot of people. Artificially deflated internet speeds and shit like that. Devilish attention to detail for ruining communication, shit like that for TI. That sort of a warm sensation, like maybe right back here. My lead apron at night. Well, I may, ow, my foot too. I may go and like possibly even take a shower or something like that. Ouch, my foot. I'm getting hit with pain, remote torture pain in my foot right now. Okay, so I'm getting tortured as my day goes on here.